Most of us go through our entire lives believing our brain is in control of us, when in reality, you have the power to control it if you just learn one simple shift. And I want you to think about how many times your brain has talked you out of something you knew you wanted. Whether it was speaking up in that meeting, putting your hand up for an opportunity, saying no to something that drained you, or even getting up earlier to take care of yourself. And what happens is your brain fires off the same old thought loops, the same old patterns, because it is designed to keep you safe, not successful. And if you don't step in and take control, it will drag you back to comfort every single time. And here's the truth, you don't need more motivation. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You need a tool, a simple way to interrupt the autopilot that runs your life and choose a new direction. And the fastest way to do this is to recognize that the moment you have an instinct to act on something that matters to you, your brain will try to kill it within 5 seconds. And if you don't move, speak, or decide in that tiny window, the idea will die, the opportunity will pass, and you'll stay stuck exactly where you've been, because your brain has done its job of keeping you safe in the familiar. But here's the twist. Safe is not the same as fulfilled. Safe is not the same as alive. Safe is not the same as aligned with your purpose. So when you notice yourself thinking, I should reach out to her, I should finally start working out, I should say no, or I should ask for what I need, that is your inner wisdom trying to guide you. But your brain, with all of its old wiring, will slam on the brakes. And that's where you get to decide whether you'll let fear win or you'll take control. And let's be real. How many years have you already lost to hesitation, to talking yourself out of things, to staying silent when your heart was screaming for you to speak? And how many times have you looked back and thought, if only I had acted? And you don't need to live like that anymore, because the secret is you can rewire the way you respond to those moments. You can override the default by physically moving into action before the excuses arrive. And this isn't complicated. It's about interrupting the thought spiral and sending a new message to your brain. It's about catching yourself when you start overthinking and saying, nope, not today, and moving anyway, because motion creates clarity, action builds confidence, and repetition builds new wiring. And let me tell you something that will set you free. You don't have to feel like it to do it. You don't need the perfect conditions. You don't need permission from anyone else. What you need is to prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. And once you do it the first time, the next time becomes easier, and then easier again, and eventually, you're not even negotiating with your brain anymore. You're just doing it. And that's when life starts to shift in ways you can't even imagine, because suddenly you're not living in reaction. You're living in creation. You're not waiting for the right time. You're making it the right time. And this is not about hustling harder or forcing yourself into burnout. This is about reclaiming the steering wheel of your mind so you can stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. And I know you've been through enough in your life to understand how precious time really is. So why would you have another year, another month, another day away to hesitation and self-doubt when you have the power to take control right now? And maybe you're thinking, but I've failed before. Or it's too late for me. But let me stop you right there, because the only thing that makes it too late is if you refuse to try. The only thing that keeps you trapped is believing the lies your brain keeps feeding you. And the moment you call those lies out, the moment you move anyway, that's the moment you take your power back. And once you taste that power, you'll never go back, because you'll realize that confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build by doing the things you thought you couldn't do. And every single time you override that hesitation, you stack another brick in the foundation of self-trust. And that is the most valuable thing you can own. Because when you trust yourself, you no longer live for validation. You no longer waste energy explaining yourself to people who don't get it. And you no longer shrink your dreams to fit the comfort zone your brain wants to trap you in. Instead, you rise, you expand, you lead, you set boundaries, you pursue the things that actually light you up, and life starts to meet you at the level of your courage, not your fear. Yes. And if you're still listening right now, it's because a part of you knows you've been playing small. A part of you knows you've been letting your brain run the show. And you're ready to flip the script. And here's the truth. Controlling your brain doesn't mean silencing the fear. It means moving forward with it. It means saying, I see you, but you don't get to drive today. And then taking the wheel anyway. And when you start to live like this, everything changes your relationships, because you stop people pleasing and start communicating honestly. Your health, because you stop waiting until Monday and just start your career. Because you stop hiding your ideas and start sharing them boldly. And your sense of peace, because you stop living in your head and start living in your life. And I want you to imagine 1 year from now, looking back on this moment and realizing it was the day you decided to stop letting hesitation steal your future. It was the day you drew a line and said, enough. It was the day you learned to use your brain instead of being used by it. And when that day comes, you'll be so grateful you stopped waiting, because the life you've been craving is already here. It's just on the other side of that split-second decision to act. So stop negotiating with your excuses. Stop waiting for confidence. Stop listening to the part of your brain that wants to keep you stuck. And instead move, speak, leap, trust, because when you do, you'll prove to yourself what was true all along. You are not powerless. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are in control. And the moment you decide to act, everything in your life will begin to change. Have you ever noticed how every time you think about making a change, whether it's starting that side business you've been dreaming about, leaving a relationship that doesn't feel right anymore, anxious, getting back into shape, or even just speaking up in a meeting, you suddenly hear this loud, convincing voice in your head that says, what if you fail? What if people laugh? What if it doesn't work out? Maybe you're not ready. Maybe tomorrow will be better. That voice feels like truth, doesn't it? But here's the reality. Your brain is not wired for your success. It's wired for your survival. It doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't care if you're fulfilled. And it certainly doesn't care if you reach your full potential. Its job is to keep you safe, comfortable, and far away from anything that feels uncertain or risky. And the problem is the very things that lead to success, change, growth, trying new things, stepping outside your comfort zone, all of them feel uncertain. So what happens? You stay stuck. You keep repeating the same patterns, living the same life, having the same conversations, because your brain tricks you into believing that familiar equals safe and safe equals good. But let me tell you the truth, familiar isn't the same as fulfilling. Just because you've gotten used to something doesn't mean it's right for you. Just because you know how to manage pain doesn't mean you're supposed to live in it. Too many of us confuse comfort with happiness, and we stay in situations, jobs, or relationships that drain us simply because our brain convinces us that change is dangerous. Think about it. How many times have you wanted to take a step towards something new and your brain immediately flooded you with every worst-case scenario? That's not a sign that you can't do it. That's your brain doing its job, keeping you in the same predictable place. But here's the problem. If you don't recognize that and take control, your brain will run your entire life on autopilot. And autopilot is the fastest way to regret. I know women who have waited decades to make changes because they let fear dictate their choices. They were waiting for the fear to go away before they took action. But fear doesn't go away first. Courage comes first. Action comes first. And then your brain recalibrates. That's how growth works. You have to be willing to push past that first wave of panic, that inner voice that tries to pull you back, and remind yourself that discomfort doesn't mean danger. It means growth. Every breakthrough in your life will come disguised as discomfort. That's the sign you're on the right path. And here's the best part. Once you realize your brain isn't your enemy, but just a safety mechanism. So you can separate your truth from your programming. You can say, thank you, brain, for trying to protect me, but I don't need protection right now. I need progress. You start to realize that courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move anyway. And when you do, something amazing happens. Your brain rewires. The more you step into the unfamiliar, the more familiar it becomes. What once felt terrifying starts to feel normal. And that's how you expand what's possible for your life. But if you don't take control, you'll keep shrinking your dreams down to the size of your comfort zone. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather risk failing at something I care about than succeed at staying stuck. So the next time you catch yourself hesitating, making excuses, or overthinking, remember this: your brain is just trying to keep you safe, but you are not here to live safe. You are here to live alive. And that requires you to stop letting fear make your choices for you. So many women sit back and wait for confidence to magically appear before they take the leap, before they speak up, before they start the business, before they end the toxic relationship, before they apply for the job, before they show up fully as themselves. They think, once I feel confident, then I'll do it. But here's the truth: confidence isn't a prerequisite, it's a result. You don't get confidence first, you earn it by acting before your excuses have time to talk you out of it. Think about it. How many times have you wanted to do something and within seconds, your brain gave you a list of reasons why you shouldn't? You're too old. You're not ready. You don't have the time. What will people think? Those aren't facts. They're excuses disguised as logic. And the longer you sit in them, the more they grow until you've convinced yourself that staying stuck is safer. But here's the shift: you needy confidence doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. Every time you take action before your excuses win, you prove to yourself that you're capable. And that proof is what builds confidence. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So waiting for confidence is like waiting to get strong before you start lifting weights. It doesn't work that way. You have to lift first, and then strength comes. The same is true here. And I know this because I've seen women at 35, 50, 65 make massive changes in their lives, not because they felt ready, but because they acted when they were terrified. That's what creates confidence. That's what builds trust in yourself, because the opposite of confidence isn't fear, it's inaction. You will always feel fear, especially when something matters to you. The real question is, will you act before your excuses take over? Because excuses will always come. Your brain is quick. It will come up with every reason why today is not the right time. And if you listen, you'll stay exactly where you are. But when you act in spite of the excuses, when you raise your hand in that meeting, even though your voice shakes, when you hit publish on that post, even though you're worried what people will think, when you go to that workout, even though you'd rather stay in bed, you send yourself a message, I can trust myself to move. And that trust is everything. That's how confidence is born. Not from theory, not from wishing, not from waiting for someone else to validate you. It's born from action. And every action, no matter how small, is a vote for the version of you want to become. So stop waiting. Stop waiting for confidence to knock on your door, because it never will. You have to go out and create it. And the only way you do that is by acting first, before the excuses grow louder than your desire. You may not feel ready. You may not feel brave. But if you act anyway, you'll realize confidence isn't something you get. It's something you practice into existence. The life you want is not some distant dream. It's not 10 years away. It's not waiting on someone else to change. It's not hiding in a future version of you who has it all figured out. It's already here, sitting just on the other side of a choice you've been avoiding. And that's the part most people miss. Life doesn't change when the stars align. Life changes when you decide. Decide to leave the comfort zone that's secretly suffocating you. Decide to stop giving your time and energy to things that drain you. Decide to stop waiting for permission and start giving yourself the green light. We think it's going to take some massive overhaul to create the life we want, but more often than not, it starts with one decision. One small but powerful choice that shifts your trajectory completely. For some of you, that might be deciding to finally speak up instead of staying silent. For others, it might be deciding to put yourself first instead of always coming last. It might mean deciding to take that first step toward a healthier body, a better career, a more peaceful home, or simply a happier version of you. But here's the thing, you already know what that decision is. You've been carrying it in your gut, in that quiet inner voice that whispers, this isn't it. You're made for more. The life you want isn't out there. It's waiting for you to choose it. And yet, so many of us keep stalling because we're afraid. Afraid of judgment, afraid of failure, afraid of loss. But here's the truth, the real loss is not failure. The real loss is a life half lived because you were too afraid to choose. You're not actually waiting for the right moment. You're postponing the life you want because fear feels safer than action. Yes. But if you look back, hasn't fear already cost you enough? The friendships you didn't pursue, the dreams you didn't chase, the years you spent in situations you outgrew, all of that came from waiting. The reality is the door to the life you want is already unlocked, but it only opens when you turn the handle. And that handle is your decision. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. You don't need to have the whole plan figured out. You don't need to know how it will all unfold. You just need to decide that staying where you are is no longer an option. The moment you do, everything begins to shift. Opportunities you couldn't see before start to appear. People who align with the new version of you begin to show up. Energy that felt drained starts to return. Because when you make a powerful decision, you create space for life to meet you where you are. It's not magic, it's alignment. Life responds to movement, not hesitation. And every single time you choose action over fear, you collapse the distance between where you are and the life you want. So stop telling yourself you're waiting for the right time. The right time is the moment you decide. So here's the truth, your brain will always try to keep you safe, but you're not here to just survive, you're here to live. Confidence won't magically appear one day. You build it by acting before your excuses take over. And the life you've been waiting for. It's not out there in some distant future, it's right here waiting for you to choose it. Every single thing you've ever wanted. Peace, freedom, love, confidence. Success sits on the other side of one decision, the decision to act, to stop overthinking, to stop shrinking, to stop waiting for the perfect moment. You don't need permission, you don't need a guarantee, and you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to decide that your future matters more than your fear. Because the truth is, nothing changes until you change. And the moment you choose yourself, the moment you choose action, you will look back and wonder why you waited so long. So don't let another day slip by on autopilot. Take the step, make the call, say the words, start the thing. Choose you, because when you do, everything else will finally start to fall into place.